Formalism is actually an approach to creating, looking, and interpreting art. Formalism focuses on the form, shape, color, texture, line, and the visual components of the artwork. Putting aside the content, the historical context, the psychology of the artist, or the politics of the artist that created it, and just focusing on the visual components. The visual element, now you can look at any artwork in a formal term. You can think about the shapes and forms, and color and texture of any artwork. But some artists choose to focus on that, and some critics choose to respond to that. For example, German artist Josef Albers was taking a formalist approach when he did a series called Homage to the Square. He did a series of concentric squares of colors, and all he varied in square after square after square was the color relationships. There was no story in this painting. There was no feeling that he was going through and trying to convey. There was no historical context. There was just the shapes of the square with the formal element, the square, that formal components. The color, so the homage of the square is a formalist approach to examining the formal elements of art. Dutch painter Piet Mondrian began his career firmly rooted in the representational form, favoring naturalistic and impressionistic landscapes. His style was influenced by Picasso and Braque, as is morphed in his signature non-representational form, which he termed neoplasticism. It was through this form that he became an important contributor to the still art movement. It is well to remember that Mondrian's artwork, which before being horizontal lines and vertical lines in pure flat colors on an essential plant surface, colors assembled in a certain order. Modernism and postmodernism, Madan Sarup, argues that formalism, whose claims are based on immanent interpretation, is really a culturally, postmodernism is a repudiation of modernism. His art of presentation style that it was seeking utopian concept of whole explanation through equilibrate the pure color. The representation context came from Middle Ages European window of churches from the color Christian art. He advocated unadulterated painting broad range to decrease the fundamentals of elements from structure and tint. The effected of approach from Picasso's artwork philosophy. He said, "I love Picasso's work." When he talked about Picasso in modernist art, his concept context form of Platonic definition for forms to pursue and develop Paul Cézanne and Pablo Picasso as well. Mondrian is a concept that work artistic value is entirely determined by its form, such as Picasso's work, The Aficionado. Jasper John is often credited with paving the way for pop art by introducing recognizable subject matter into art. But the importance of early pieces such as Flag lies equally in the way he created a careful balance between form and subject matter. This created a dilemma for formalist critics such as Clement Greenberg, since while they maintain that the seat of an artwork value lays in its manipulation of form, Johns made it impossible to deny the importance of subject matter. Artists such as Mark Rothko insisted on the importance of subject matter, but the appearance of their flag made it easy to ignore. Picture like flag made that impossible. Famous 20th century artist Jackson Pollock revolutionized the world of modern art with his unique abstract painting techniques. Artist Jackson Pollock studied under Thomas Hart Benton before leaving traditional techniques to explore abstraction, expressionism via his splatter and action pieces, which involved pouring paint and other media directly onto canvases. Pollock was both renowned and critiqued for his convention. Full Fathom 5 was among the first drip paintings Jackson Pollock completed. The pictures have invited numerous interpretations, many of which stress very different aspects of the paintings. For example, Harold Rosenberg focuses on the process of technique, Pollack's encounter with the canvas. But for Clement Greenberg, the critic who was the painter's strongest advocate, the significance of his technique lay in its formal achievements. It managed to detach line from its traditional role of defined shapes and volume, and it broke away the rigid, shallow, demarcated space that had dominated painting since the advent of Cubism, replacing it with a loose, open web of space.